Kip, it's really great to meet you. Everyone at Vegan Publishers is a big fan of the movie, and we're really thrilled to be talking to you today. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So first of all, who thought of the name Cowspiracy? It's just so perfect.
It's actually funny. I thought about it quite a while ago, and originally the Cowspiracy was a joke that the cows were really the ones taking over the world by like doing their own cow jihad, where they're sacrificing themselves and secretly making themselves somehow addicted to people, their flesh, and their secretions. And the real Cowspiracy is that the cows are taking over the world. And then as the film progressed, as you can see, it's more people take it, of course, as more the conspiracy that's happening with the industry and the environmental groups. But overall, it's kind of a catchy name, we felt too, and we did testing on it. People like it.
So tell me about how this film went from being an idea floating in your head to an actual film. Like, did you have a moment where you were like, wow, this is actually happening?
It did. It took a while to happen. I mean, in a way, it took 7 years. I've actually been vegan 7 years. And the journey, that's what's fun about the film. It follows my journey of what happened to me a long time ago. And where in the movie, I think the one part that's not totally true, whereas I say, I've been trying to contact these environmental organizations for months. It was actually around 5 years.
Oh, wow.
So it was a long time, and wanting to do this movie, it took a long time, and it really meant having to meet Keegan. We just worked so well together. But the part where we really had that aha moment was at the first interview with the Government Department of Water. That was really telling, and it was interesting too. That was the first interview. Like that, a lot of times you re-edit things and things come before after. That was our very first one, and we're like, "Whoa, there's something really happening here." And then after every interview we had, we just could not believe it. It was more shocking than we would think it was before going in. More evasive, more funny, as you could see each interview. So as disturbing the interviews were, we knew there was definitely a film to be had. So.
Yeah, I'll say. How has your life changed since the film came out?
Travel a lot.
Yeah.
Travel a lot and have a lot of really cool friends all over the world. Meet a lot of incredible, enlightened people have already, as I say, have done the transformation in their own personal journey. To become one in harmony with everyone else. So I just met incredible people is the most joyous thing, and a lot of support, and it's just been a fun journey.
Cool. So you mentioned that you actually have been vegan for a while, so I take it that the narrative of you kind of becoming vegan was kind of part of the narrative that happened to you in the past?
It was that I grew up as meat and dairy, as I say in the film. I grew up this way, and I was so naive. I was looking for a way to be a conscious meat eater, just someone who cares about not only life and other animals, but the environment. So I was really following my journey, and then realizing, of course, give away the end, but that I couldn't really do it for beyond. There's ethical reasons as well, and we barely touch on health, but that was a big part of it. And at the time, as in the movie, I was so naive. I didn't know I could live a month without meat or dairy. I was that naive. I didn't know anything about nutrition. But at the point where I went vegan, I really didn't care. I didn't have a doctor consultation at the time. But I said, I don't want a trail of blood going to my grave. And I wanted, even if it's 1 month from now, it's kind of like atonement. Just wanted to, just to be at peace with everything at that moment.
Did you, any of the other filmmakers involved in making the film, were any of them inspired to make the change as well throughout the course of filming?
Well, what's funny is it was really Keegan and I did every single thing in there.
Wow.
I mean, Keegan's partner felt this film a couple parts on when we went to the farm, like those farm scenes. Other than that, it was Keegan and I did sound, set up the cameras, directing, every single thing. So it was just him and me. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
So tell me about your experiences at these screenings. I know you've taken the film all over the country and even the world. What kind of feedback do you typically get?
The feedback has been incredible. I'm sure part of it's preaching to the choir, but we've had a lot of great opportunities where for a really huge milestone or landmark is Keegan. I believe in Europe at the time. The Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, one of their biggest regional office here in San Francisco, they requested to watch the movie to their entire office.
Oh, that's
and
right.
it turned out, yeah, and it turned out everyone showed up. It was a standing house. It was at a real theater.
Yeah.
And they were very open, and probably very few of them were vegetarian, let alone vegan.
Mm-hmm.
But they were, they were wakened up, and they were, and I think that's the whole thing, is even if people, no matter where you are and what stage of life, the facts are the facts, and it's an eye-opening film, and it's an entertaining one, and it's just so fun to see the transformation of people taking place with emails and direct accounts of after watching the film of their parents or their loved ones or their everything. It's just been really fun to see it making an impact.
Yeah, I mean my friend that I took with me to the screening, she was vegetarian and she left the movie a vegan. She really
Nice.
did. Yeah. So how do you respond to the people who say that the film is nothing but vegan propaganda? They never seem to have a counter argument, but they just kind of say that. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's exactly what you say. We say, where is the counter argument? What we do, and that's the thing, is just following someone who's asking questions to people who know a lot more than me, and a lot of people look at me as I'm a scientist or I'm claiming things. If you watch the film, the movie never tells you to do anything. It just shows what I went through, and it just asks questions to people who know a lot more than me and a lot more than most anyone on this topic. So it's information about facts, and we always encourage people, if you don't believe the facts that you see in the film, do your research, because you'll find a lot of the facts in the film is actually conservative. And so the truth is the truth,
Right. Some of the pushback from environmentalists that I've seen is that they say, oh, we don't focus on lifestyle changes. We just focus on policy. How can policy potentially ever be shaped around this?
You mean the environmental groups, you're saying that?
Yes, yeah.
Well, that's something we touch in with the Department of Water Resources that goes on all the interviews. Eventually we'll have the longer extended interviews of these organizations. And if anything, it's actually worse than it appears in the film, because we go into that. They all say, well, we don't go into behavior changes. And it's like, well, you do, indirectly or directly. You say, drive your car less and do all these things that everyone else knows what to do. Don't buy palm oil and don't do this.
Right.
So they do say that, and that's a cop-out. And as far as policy, there is exciting policy that's taking place that's in the works now that we're going to help develop as well. There's things that people are bringing up into legislation that there could be a meat tax or a meat and dairy tax or a warning label. It's very similar. It's a very similar path. It could be, and it looks like that the tobacco industry, that happened to them. First, the truth comes out, rather than secondhand smoking and secondhand eating, what it does to tax dollars and our health and everything else, and then to tax it to counterbalance all these, the millions and billions of dollars that are being wasted in this industry, from environment to health to everything.
Yeah. So have you been threatened at all since the film's release, knowing that, the film could threaten this industry's profits?
No, it hasn't. And, that's a cool thing. At the time of filming, it was really scary because it really followed. It was very true to how it was edited. We were scared, and we did make up backups.
Yeah.
But once the film's out, the film is out. There's nothing. The film is out, especially. So I don't think there's anything they can do. And if they did something, let's say sue or whatever, it's just going to come back tenfold in them and make this huge David Goliath of creating so much more attention than it's already getting. And why would they want to do that? Because it didn't work with Howard Lyman and Oprah Winfrey, and I think they learned their lesson with that. So, and either way, it's a win-win situation. It's getting out there, so not worried.
Good. Is there any way to prove that the animal agriculture groups donate to these environmental groups? Or do you think that it's maybe even that the people in the environmental groups eat meat themselves and they just really don't want to focus on this?
That's a big part of it. Is we say it's trifold. One is a huge part is their donor base. I mean, since the making of the film, I wish we had this while we were making it. We found a report. They did a full analysis, and they hired a consulting firm. It looked like of pages upon pages of whether this campaign will make donors or will make money or not. And it's like if someone, a doctor, a lung cancer doctor, asked a consultant, should we tell our patients who smoke cigarettes whether we need to tell them or not? Are they going to go to a different doctor?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so bizarre that it's profits over planet. And then, as you said, the heads of these organizations, almost all of them, a few of them not, but definitely most of them do eat animal products, let alone not even vegan, but not even vegetarian.
Right.
And then the top core of their funding, say the top 10%, the percentage of those top donors very rarely are vegetarian or vegan. And then you also have legislation that's shown in the film. Sure, it's a little bit scary for anybody to talk about this industry. So that's one of their cop-outs as well, is that we're not allowed to because of the ag-gag laws and these other things to talk about this industry to create a damage. It could come back to them. So it's all these things.
So there's the environmental groups and the people in them that are in denial. There's the public that are so attached to eating meat. There's the animal agriculture industry, which is so powerful that it can dictate federal food policy. And it's like this codependent relationship where all these people are kind of creating this perfect storm. And then there's this tiny percentage of us that are vegans, and they're the ones considered to have an agenda. Is it like,
and we're the ones that are extreme, but
right, exactly.
Well, this tiny percentage, as I say, it's not tiny much longer, and it's not anymore. It's
true.
The voice is so huge. It is like, say, the David Goliath. The voices of conscious people today, no matter what, whether it's human campaigns or worldwide or environmental, it's the voice that has it. You have these single or small groups that create such big change, and we really are making a huge splash. Over the next few years, it's just getting greater and greater and greater. And that's what's so fun, is because we feel, if you're a vegan, you feel like you have been quieted at the table amongst your friends, and we're looked at as the leaders, and people really kind of following suit after us and looking, I wouldn't say up to us, but looking as, wow, they're doing their part, and they're not the weird ones. They're really the ones that we look to be a part of.
Yeah, it's great. So there's still a long way to go, but I can definitely sense the shift. Do you think that the movie's called Cowspiracy? Do you think it's really a conspiracy, or is it more just this unfortunate set of circumstances that brought us to this point?
Well, it's like that. Because we get that sometimes. There's a real conspiracy. That's why the movie at the end, gets to a point where we don't even go there. We're interviewing these environmental groups, and it comes to a point where a lot of people say, "Why didn't you follow the money? We could have followed the money. We could follow the board of directors." And the board of directors, going to your last statement, there's board of directors who cross hardcore with the animal agriculture industry, right? Which is smart of them. But I got lost track with that one.
The conspiracy is
the conspiracy part. I got the last. But what it is with the conspiracy, if you look up the word conspiracy, it's just conspiring to do something that's harmful with a group of people, whether they're doing it on purpose or not. That they know it's harmful. They do know it's harmful.
Yeah.
So the environmental group, they are not telling this on their homepage, the leading cause of environmental destruction, and they're doing it because of these reasons we mentioned.
Yeah.
Now, are they doing it because they really want to destroy the world? No, but that's the extreme version of conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing things, it's more of what they're not doing, and they don't want to tell people this, and they don't want to tell people, to show certain things that they're doing or who they're affiliated with. So, I do believe it's a conspiracy, that there's a lot of things out there that people don't want to have known of true motives of what some of these environmental groups or this industry is doing. But it's definitely, it's not the focus of the film, and we don't necessarily want it to be. It's about, really working together and getting the information out and showing that it hasn't been done, so let's do it now.
Great answer. Were you shocked that the organic dairy people in the film admitted that dairy is in no way a sustainable way to feed people?
We were shocked, and it was nice to see them being so honest, and the CEO, he was just so caring. He truly was, and it's almost, I don't know if he wanted to even necessarily be in the industry, but he was just really caring, and he was really truthful. It was just so refreshing after these let alone he's in the industry, the environmental groups, they wouldn't even just acknowledge it. They would, and then here's a guy who's the CEO acknowledging it. I mean, it was so bizarre. And then not only that, the farmer as well, talking about, almond milk and these different soy milks that are going to soon replace it because it needs to be replaced because it's so unsustainable. So, I mean, that's one of our favorite parts in the film, is that part.
Yeah. So the whole idea that meat can be sustainable, do you think that these locavore small farm meat advocates would still advocate replacing factory farms with pastures if they really realized that this would mean that everyone, including themselves, would have to be almost entirely vegan due to scarcity of land and meat products this would create, which even Michael Pollan admitted in your film, which I also thought was great. I mean, it kind of proves that it's really just lip service to even advocate that movement, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, and that's why some people say, oh, you put the ethics part in there with the backyard farming. Sure, it got to the part where an animal gets killed. People don't realize that, but it was very important to show as a sustainable part. People get sidetracked that it got killed. That backyard farming is to address this whole local. How local do you want to get it? Do you want to have it in your backyard? Well, if you do, it's around 50 pounds to 100 pounds, according to this guy, of food for just 1 pound of his duck. I mean, that is so unsustainable. Where does he get 50 pounds and 100 pounds for every pound? And if everyone did that, I mean, that's one of the most unsustainable things you can do. And ironically, from a sustainability point of it, is that factory farms are the most sustainable. That's why they're in factory farms. It's the most efficient. Yeah. Of course, we're not for that. It's terrible for the animal. But if you're looking for sustainability, then that's the best way. And so it's lose-lose situation, let alone the ethics of someone pretending they love an animal but really they're, Hansel and Gretel theory, as I say. The Hansel and Gretel theory is so bizarre and twisted because she pretends she loves the kids and they think they love her. In reality, it's just to fatten them up and kill them.
Yeah. So. Oh my God, I never thought of that. And that's one of the great things about this film is that it really goes beyond the idea of veganism being just about animal rights, as important as that is. So many are just able to block that out. And so this film shows that it's really about human rights. We're using disproportionately large amounts of resources to produce comparably small amounts of meat and milk and eggs, while billions of people literally starve or go hungry, and we're destroying the environment in the process. So do you think that people are more receptive when you kind of take the animal ethics aspect out of the equation, and is that kind of why you did that in this film?
Yeah, and I think that's why people love the film, especially vegans, and if you are in animal rights, is because here's the logical side of it. Take ethics completely out. If you're into human rights, this needs to be the number one, if not top 3 human rights issue that's facing the planet today. We're humans. Are we going to be around much longer due to this industry, due to these habits or addictions that we have? So that's why people really like it, because it's just a very logical point of view where, A equals B and what we need to do, and it's so simple. So I think that's why people are really, really stoked on the film and the message.
Yeah, totally. The word vegan has negative connotations with many non-vegans. How do you feel about the word, using it in the film and in your own life, and how can we overcome those negative associations? Do you think we need a whole new word for vegan?
What's cool is knowing that we purposely at the end put it in there because it's beyond plant-based lifestyle. Well, plant-based lifestyle is the same, but I feel like anything, the transformation already happened. There's been a lot of works throughout time that had some sort of connotation and is extreme in something, and then something comes out where, the information now, where now the word vegan is looked as sustainable. It's looked as caring. It's looked as compassionate, whereas a few years ago, it looked as just some extreme diet.
Yeah.
And where you're just some animal rights freak. And little things like what Justin Timberlake did, and I don't know if you saw that in Saturday Night Live, he did, go down to Veganville or whatever that was. And so it's like these little things where you see in mainstream media, now vegan is having a whole other word, and it's very simple, and it crosses everything from leather to, lifestyle. So I think it's a powerful word, and we wanted to have it in there because some people said, oh, don't use the V word. It's like, you know what? The word needs to be transformed into what it is now.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think, as you probably see, even over the last year, and you'll see over the next couple of years, the V word is actually looked as, is victory word.
Nice. So there's a large variation in the amount of greenhouse gases that researchers have found livestock to be responsible for, as low as below 10% up to 51%. And some environmentalists get hung up on the percentage and they end up just kind of like dismissing the whole thing. How do you address that debate, and what made you decide to stand behind the 51%?
Yeah, we've had so much, discussions and feedback with the film. With the one is the 51%, and the big thing that I say in Q&As and when in responses is that it does range, and there's so many variances. We've talked to so many, hardcore scientists and biologists, and learning, because again, this is not knowing. People act like I'm a scientist. I learned a lot of this information as filming the film itself, but since then, really discovering the life cycle analysis and what happens if you have a different number. Should the offsetting of the rainforest, if it was still there, be counted in? If not, and some do put it in, some don't put it in, and a lot of it's theoretical. So right now we're considering putting it down to something more where it's taking the 51% out and putting different incredible facts in there for our next edit, because we don't want to get people focused on a number. Just like you said, there is so many things. This is one part of the issue. 50% of Americans don't even believe climate change even exists. So why? And I sometimes not even sure whether it's a cycle or not. So there's so many things that don't get caught up on one number. What about water? What about species extinction? And that numbers is very debatable. So that's why we showed both numbers and leave it up for discussion. Do your own research. What do you find out? It's a big thing we have.
So you actually might do another edit that takes that out altogether?
We've always planned on, from the get-go, different scientists we're working with, we're to constantly update the data with newer edits. Some go, with China and people's habits, a lot of things are going higher. So we want to always to be a very up-to-date film. And that is one we're seriously considering changing to something that I actually feel is even a more powerful statement than that, because just like you said, it gets caught up in this number where there's other facts that we had to leave out of the film. We're like, hey, like one example, an incredible fact is the agriculture industry over the next to 2050 is raising, for all greenhouse gases, 80%. Versus all transportation and normal energy sector emissions is going to be raising 25%. The agriculture section, which a majority is animal agriculture, is raising 80%. And that's a fact that's across the board scientists have acknowledged. So there's other facts we might put in there just to, not have some person say, oh, they have the 51 in there. Let's dismiss the whole thing.
Right. Cool. Last I heard, the Rainforest Action Network was the only one that had come out with any kind of response or campaign since Cowspiracy came out. Have there been any others, and are you continuing to follow up with them?
We are, and we're continuing to follow up them. Someday, we're working on other projects, but we're going to do a follow-up of all the transformation that's happened and the things that have happened within the organizations. For example, Amazon Watch, we heard from someone within a friend of mine who knows a friend of theirs, that they now finally do, after all these years, they've been trying to have them do vegan dinners or lunches, and now they finally are. So changes like that, as little as it sounds, that's major, because first you have that the organization themselves, the leaders, be living the sustainable lifestyle. But Rainforest Action Network, they did that whole campaign. They, just yesterday I was on their website the other day, and it's still not anywhere on their website. So whether people are doing temporary damage control, to offset it, or real changes, we'll see. But if they don't, they're going to be left behind, because there's new organizations coming up. Just like companies come and go, you're going to be left behind if you're not up to date on the truth and what you're really attempting to do.
Yeah. And so then I wanted to talk about the water issue, because that's so huge in Southern California. This is very real, and then we have the dairy industry still bragging about how many cows come from California. These are massive water-guzzling creatures in a near-desert climate. So there's a disconnect that they feel that they can actually brag about it to the public. What do you think is causing this disconnect with the water issue?
Again, that they don't... Well, the one disconnect is, as you saw in the film, they don't want to really let this information out of what's really consuming the majority, a lot of this water, and it's just another one of those. They don't want to address the addiction or the real cause of these things, because either they feel that people are so addicted or have to have the animal flesh or secretions that they can't stop it, so there's no point in telling people, so let's turn off our sprinklers. We live here. It's just shocking. It's ridiculous. But I feel it's happening. It's happening. But one more year of the drought, you can't hide that much longer.
No.
It comes to a point where it's like, what? The cows are the ones consuming all this.
Yeah.
We can't even feed our kids.
Right. Exactly. So. Some say Cowspiracy could be the new Blackfish. How can it reach an audience large enough to make the same impact? And is there any chance this film can end up televised or on Netflix?
Yeah, there's a really, really good chance these things are happening. I can't say anything yet, but some exciting developments have been happening for sure, big time. Awesome. 2015 is a major, exciting time for all of us. It's not in the film; it's the message. It's just an exciting time that you'll see huge transformation this next year because of with some good help. I can't say too much, but good things happening where this information, the film, the message is getting all across the entire world with some good help, with some good friends and organizations and distribution and stuff like that. So it's happening.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Are there plans to make Cowspiracy basically more than a movie, but a movement, which I think it is, but kind of what's your plan for that? Yeah,
that's what's fun to see is, once we've just started, because like you said, most documentaries, just like Blackfish, they only start, for them it was CNN, but no one heard of it before CNN. Most documentaries start at Netflix, so we have just begun, and to see already, again, like you call it whatever movement you want to call it, a movement already has begun, and not only that, it happened years ago. This is finally a tool where they can use to say, rather than a big binder, here's a tool for this movement that's already happening. So it's already happening, and it's exciting because it's just begun, and it's already this big and this exciting, and this much transformation's already taken change that. Absolutely, and it's just a tool for the movement that's already begun.
Yeah, it's great. I think the social media has been great. I've been following that, so I think that's awesome. So finally, since this is an interview for vegan publishers, are there any books that you recommend regarding this topic?
Regarding this topic, anything Dr. Oppenlander. Mm-hmm. Writes, they're very techie, it's not like a necessarily super much exciting read, but if you're really into the science of it. And then Dr. Tuttle, Will Tuttle has his beautiful book, the diet, the World Peace Diet. Right. That's an amazing book that covers everything from ethics to sustainability. That's a great book, big time. I definitely recommend that one. Other than that, if everyone's vegan publishers, they're probably vegan. But when I say people making the transition, a good one to watch is like Forks Over Knives, to realize that basically you don't need these things. It's been kind of marketed to us to realize you don't need these, and you never did.
Right.
So that's a big one.
Yeah, that one made a big impact, I think.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for making this film. You've really opened up the conversation. You really have, and you've inspired a lot of people to make the change and take action. So thank you.
Awesome.
And thank you for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you, dude, for doing what you're doing, and everyone's inspiring us too. So thanks both ways.
Awesome. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.